I binge-watched the first 4 seasons of Line of Duty back in 2019, and luckily season 5 kicked off soon afterwards. I say luckily because this is one of the most addicting crime dramas I've ever watched. That's probably its best quality, so this 2-year break between seasons 5 and 6 felt like an eternity. But that is behind us now, and it's once again time to nick some bent coppers. Hi there mate, how's it going? It's Benja here, and this is a breakdown and review of Line of Duty Season 6, Episode 1. Detective Chief Inspector Jo Davidson is in the crosshairs this season. She's the senior investigating officer on journalist Gail Vella's murder case. Interestingly, DI Kate Fleming is a part of Jo's murder investigation team based out of Hillside Lane Station. Initially, it looks like Kate was through with anti-corruption, that she was done with that department, but my theory is that she is still undercover, just not for AC-12 or Hastings. I say that because there's a peculiar scene in this episode where Superintendent Ted Hastings realizes that he's not been invited to a meeting featuring commanding officers from other anti-corruption units. That could just be because Hastings has been a naughty boy. He was disciplined at the end of season 5 if you remember, but I don't think that's the main reason. My theory is that Kate is working for another AC unit, and because they want to make it seem like Kate really left AC-12, they haven't let Hastings or Steve Arnott know. These two still think that Kate is done with them, and that's important for Kate's cover story because she hasn't assumed another identity. She's making it seem like she really left AC. That's why Deputy Chief Constable Andrea Wise is conducting this meeting without Hastings, in my opinion. Steve is still with AC-12, but he's considering leaving as well. He gets in touch with DI Nicola Rogerson from the Major Violent Crime Department and asks for a job because she has her own team now. We saw her back in Season 2, she was a detective sergeant back then, and she developed a romantic relationship with Steve, which didn't last long. So now that you've got the lay of the land, let's go back to the murder investigation. It's a pretty open and shut case for 2 reasons. Firstly, the victim was known for looking into links between the infamous organized crime group and the Central Police. And secondly, the method of the murder points to a professional hit, a contract killing. She was shot from point-blank range in the back of the head. Like I said, as viewers, this is a simple case. The organized crime group ordered a hit on Gail Vella because she probably uncovered some new information about them. But of course, the murder investigation team is not privy to everything we've learned over 5 seasons, so they haven't made much progress. That changes at the start of this episode after an informant claims that someone has made a confession. They kept calling this informant Jizz, which I think stands for Covert Human Intelligence Source, but I'm sure you noticed it too. It sounds a lot like Jizz. I don't know what was going on there. Could have just called it an informant, but we know how obsessed these showrunners are with acronyms, and this part made me laugh quite a few times during the episode. Jo needs her superiors' go-ahead to employ an arrest team, but Detective Superintendent Buckles calls it off because the informant might not be reliant. Buckles is another familiar face. We've seen him in seasons 1 and 4. I don't think he is corrupt, but he's certainly someone that respects the chain of command. That's one of the reasons why he keeps getting these promotions, I guess. And if any of his superiors are corrupt, he would execute their orders without questioning them. He's a useful idiot. In the morning, Buckles is ordered to deploy the arrest team. His superiors give him the go-ahead. Jo, Kate, and their team gear up, and they head out to Beechwood House, where a surveillance team has been present since the evening. They've taken a picture of the suspect, and they believe he is still in the apartment. However, before the arrest team can get to Beechwood, Jo somehow notices a sketchy van in front of a bookmaker's shop, and she diverts her team to that situation because it poses a realistic risk to the public. They handle this situation but kill one of the robbers. All of this means that they are late to Beechwood House, which makes Jo's team suspicious of her because they don't understand how she saw the van in the first place and why she didn't call for backup and continue her primary mission. This isn't the only problem during this ordeal. It later comes out that the surveillance team used some overly intrusive lenses and they had to stop for 3 hours as they took care of the paperwork and equipment. We hear some remarks about how this was Buckles' fault because he handled the paperwork. So if we take a step back, we've got a random robbery conveniently en route to Beechwood. The robbers are some rookie kids, none of them have done anything like this before. Jo somehow sees the getaway van and delays her mission. Buckles messes up the paperwork beforehand, meaning that the police don't know if somebody else other than Terry Boyle was in the apartment. Terry Boyle is arrested, he's got Down syndrome, and we've seen him prominently in Season 1. The organized crime group took advantage of Terry's condition and they hid Jackie Laverty's body in his fridge. This fridge was located in Terry's real house at Dorton Villas in the Kingsgate area. So the flat in Beechwood House is not Terry's. Additionally, this flat at Dorton Villas is opposite to Kingsgate Printing Services. Look above Kate here, you can see the name. We are familiar with this place from Season 5 because of undercover police officer John Corbett. He was undercover in the organized crime group. The police raided the printer shop and Terry took pictures of Hastings and Steve from his flat at Dorton Villas. The organized crime group knew that Steve and Hastings were coming after them from earlier seasons, so they realized they must have a rat. And that rat was of course John Corbett, and he was killed by Ryan Pilkington, who is on the right of John in this picture. Ryan has been a part of the organized crime group since he was a child, and we saw him training to be a police officer at the end of Season 5. All of these connections make it clear that Terry is being framed, but the police find Gail Vella's pictures in both the Beechwood House and Dorton Villas. They also find Terry's semen on some of these pictures. There are some drugs in the house, gunshot residue on a piece of clothing, and his fridge is gone. But otherwise, the flats, especially the one at Dorton Villas, are squeaky clean, which begs the question, why would someone go to the trouble of cleaning the house and leave those incriminating items behind? These aforementioned items are only circumstantial evidence, some of them are not even that, so Terry is let go. But I doubt he is in the clear because Jo looks at him in a disturbing manner. It's one of those expressions, you can't really tell if she's smiling, it looks extremely sinister, like she's saying, "I'm not done with you, Terry." I love the fact that this was the very last shot of the episode because, like I said, that sinister look on Jo's face affected me a lot. It is revealed during one of the interviews that fingerprints belonging to an individual named Carl Banks has also been detected in the Beechwood house. Banks has a massive rap sheet, so he might be the one the informant was talking about. However, the informant dies before he can identify Carl Banks. Also, the surveillance photo from earlier in the episode definitely resembles Carl Banks. Carl's surname is interesting because we know about a member of the organized crime group with the same surname, Lee Banks. He was arrested in Season 5. He's the rightmost individual in this picture. So Carl's long rap sheet, his possible relation to Lee Banks, his fingerprints being found in the Beechwood house, and the fact that he's disappeared points to the likely possibility that he's guilty of murdering Gail Vella. And somebody from within the Central Police wanted Carl Banks to get away from Beechwood House. This could be the last H or someone else working for the organized crime group. I don't think Buckles is working with them, at least not intentionally, so I want to strike him out. Jo's house made me suspicious of her. She has like 50 locks on her door. She's clearly scared of something, so maybe the organized crime group is threatening her. Jo also told Farida Jatri, who she was breaking up with, that she had no family, but that is probably a lie. I think the woman on this photo is Jo's mother. The organized crime group could be using her mother to threaten her because she gets extremely frustrated after looking at her picture. And Jo might have been breaking up with Farida to protect her from whatever she got involved in. Maybe Jo didn't want them to use Farida against her. We also learned that Farida was being paranoid about Jo seeing other women, and I think Farida's intuitions are correct, but Jo isn't hiding an affair. I think she's hiding some criminal activity. Farida was the one that contacted Steve at first, but she gets cold feet. She says Steve has no idea what Jo is capable of. Later on, Steve chats with Kate and learns about Carl Banks, and that leads to the opening of an official investigation. Last but not least, Steve seems to be addicted to pills, to painkillers. That'll be something to look out for. All in all, this episode was full of mysteries as always. It's really hard to read these characters and determine if they're bent or not, which makes watching the show a great experience. I enjoyed all the references to previous seasons and how some characters returned, but I'm not gonna lie, seeing Terry go through all of that was tough because we know how the organized crime group has abused Terry since season 1, so most of the scenes with him were truly heartbreaking and they displayed the cruelty of the organized crime group. The armed robbery and Beechwood House arrest sequences were thrilling. These guys know how to build up tension. I liked how both Hastings and Steve weren't at 100% because of what happened to them in previous seasons. They are definitely works in progress and they look jaded. I'm like 75% sure that Kate is still undercover. And yeah, that's about it. That's all the time I've got for today. What did you think about the season premiere? What are your theories? Leave your comments down below. Like this video if you enjoyed this breakdown and subscribe for more movie reviews and TV show breakdowns. That's it for now. Take care and see you in the next video.